Which basketball players are we most confident in heading into March? I'm going to give you my top five in order on today's Locked On Badgers.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm humbled and incredibly appreciative that you've made this one of your first listens every day. Thank you so much for doing that. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little bit further? You ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada. Go find your next big adventure. Check them out today at nissanusa.com. All right, let's get into this. So, who are we most confident in right now heading into March from the basketball side? I'm going to give you my top five in order. As always, because there's a bunch of comments I'm bringing into this show, as always, post your comments. Who are you most confident in on this Badger team heading into March? And we'll do a recap show on it. So just all your comments bring you into the community. Here's my list. That doesn't make it the right list. It's just my list, but I feel pretty good about it. Starting at number five, I'm just going to list the top five, going from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Badger basketball players that I'm most confident in right now heading into March. Number five, I got Steven Crowl. And I know, man, I get accused of like holding on to a sinking ship with him. I just continue to think the overall body of work, the offensive efficiency, I think Badger fans are still too low on him. I know. He's coming off a Purdue game where he shot 2 shots. That game was terrible. The game before against Rutgers, he had 17 and 11. I mean, he's not a perfect player at all. But he is third on the team in scoring, first in rebounds, obviously, second on the team in effective field goal percentage. So he scores and he does it pretty efficiently. By the way, Badger fans, do you know the one spot on this defense analytically, if you look at synergy, the one spot on this defense where the Badgers are actually pretty good? It's post defense. I mean, people may not believe that, but that's what the numbers will tell you. Steven Crowl grades out in the 52nd percentile in post defense. That's not great, but it's good. He's a solid post defender positionally. Leads the team in rebounds, a pretty good passer still, good offensive efficiency. Yeah, he's had some bad games lately. The Illinois game wasn't very good at all. The Purdue game was a disaster. But let's also be honest, I'm ranking him 5th on a team that's like a 5th or 6th seed. So I'm also not calling him a superstar. I just think he is what he is, which is a good college center. And for the Badgers to win, they're going to need him. So I have Steven Crowl at 5. At 4, I have Chucky Hepburn. Hepburn's an interesting case for me. Yeah, Hepburn, third on the team. Some analytics, if you're looking at win shares, he leads the team in assists, obviously, but he also leads in assist percentage. The problem with Hepburn, to me, is defensively, he gets his hands on a lot of balls, right? A lot of steals. We see them. I also think he struggles getting around in the pick and roll. I think at times, he gets flashy plays defensively, but he gives up some easy ones. I think he can be really good defensively, but at times he's not fully locked in. And he goes for a few more gambles than I think he probably should be. And then overall, the shooting percentages haven't been great this year. I think he does a tremendous job. I think he's been much better in the second half of the season. I like the version of Chucky we've seen heading into March, which I think is super encouraging. But overall, he's shooting about 30% from 3. We talk a lot about Steven Crowl in the rough game against Purdue. Chucky Hepburn was 1 of 7 against Purdue. Not really a great game there either. Hepburn is a really good college guard. There's inconsistency issues at times that I think get glossed over a little bit. At number 3, I have AJ Storr. Again, AJ Storr, to me, he's an offensive guy that forces the other team to constantly find where he is in transition on the perimeter. Going into the paint. He's second on the team in free throw rate. So, forcing free throws, getting to the line. I believe he's second behind John Blackwell there. By the way, if you see me having Storr at 3, you already know who the top 2 are, right? And you might know who I left off on this top 5. But yes, Storr leads the team in scoring 16.2. I know at times the shooting percentages aren't great, but you also need a guy to take shots. And on an offense where occasionally people just refuse to shoot, looking at you, Steven Crowl from 3, but also at times Chucky, Klesmit, like people sometimes get trigger shy. You need a guy who's willing to just shoot, take shots, take tough shots, get to the line, get into the paint, get to the rim, get out in transition, right? Storr gives you volume scoring. Gets to the line, shoots a good percentage there. A little streaky from the 3-point line, but definitely someone defenses respect out there. They run to. Um, yeah, I'm going to take AJ Store number 3 heading into the postseason. I feel pretty good about him. I think he gives you some elite offensive upside when things are clicking for him. And number 2, I have John Blackwell. I'm in love with this dude's game. I think he's a future star. I think John Blackwell is a future star, but leads the team in free throw rate, never takes a bad shot seemingly. 4th in effective field goal percentage, 4th on the team in rebound rate, right? As kind of a shooting guard, 4th on the team in rebound rate. That shows you, it shows you heart. It shows you how hard he plays, but it also shows you there's a basketball IQ to rebounding, right? Knowing where the ball's going to come off, being able to read angles, being able to read shots. And then again, there's an art to just hustling, to just working hard, right? Charles Barkley, I'm going to butcher this quote. Charles Barkley once said, "I don't give a darn about rebounding technique. I just go get the damn ball." Right. And because there's coaches that'll teach all these techniques, but there's an element of rebounding to just go get the damn ball. John Blackwell goes and gets the damn ball. Plays hard, gets in the paint, gets to the free throw line at an elite level, not just for a freshman, at an elite level for a guard. Shoots high percentages, can play really good defense when he's locked in. There are freshman mistakes, right, that John Blackwell makes because he's a freshman, but when he's locked into somebody, he's a pretty good one-on-one defender, in my opinion. He has a turnover rate similar to Max Klesmit, which when you think about Klesmit is an upperclassman guard that's played a ton of college basketball. John Blackwell's a freshman. They have similar turnover rates. Blackwell's a pretty high usage rate when he's on the court. I just think he's a stud. I think he's incredibly solid, and that's maybe the best compliment that you can give a freshman. He's solid. He's solid in his offensive decision-making. He's solid in his shooting percentages. He's solid in his reads. He's solid in his effort. He's solid everywhere around the court. I have a ton of faith in him when he's on the court. So I have Blackwell number 2. Number 1, I got Tyler Wahl. I think Tyler Wahl's been the star of the season. I think he's been the best player for the Badgers consistently this year. Not the leading scorer, but shoots it really well. 2nd on the team in total rebound rate, 3rd in assist percentage, 3rd in effective field goal percentage. So he's shooting the ball well. He's the 3rd best passer. He's one of your best rebounders. He's maybe your best defender. In the post, he's a very good defender. He's up in the 80th percentile. So despite what Illinois did to him a little bit, on the whole for the season, he's been probably your best defender, one of your best rebounders, one of your best scorers, one of your best passers. And he's another guy, like, he is not melted in the moment. You think about the 2 Purdue games, Tyler Wahl has been the best player both games. Like, taking it right to Zach Edey, not shying away from the contact, not melting in the moment. I think he's heading into this postseason, the Big Ten tournament, in March, as, to me, the best player on this team, the most consistent on this team, and a guy who gives great effort, plays both ends of the court, shoots at a pretty well percentage, except for the 3, right? Has improved his free throw percentage, so he's not a liability there. Gives you some secondary playmaking, helps control the boards. I think he does so much for the Badgers. I didn't love him being like the point guard at the end of the first half against Purdue. There were a couple bad turnovers there. But outside of that, I think he's been exceptionally solid for a while now. I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's the player heading into March that gives me the most confidence. And I think also going into March, a guy like Tyler Wahl, if another team can't defend well in the post, Tyler Wahl can win you a game in March, just with his ability to dominate a matchup in the post and force defensive rotation. So I'm excited for it. I think he's the player I'm most confident in. Again, put your list up there. Who's your 1 through 5? Who are you most confident in going from 5 to 1 on this basketball team heading into March? Obviously, Klesmit is the guy people are going to say you left off. I think Klesmit and Crowell are in a similar tier for me. Klesmit and Crowell are both inconsistent offensively, but I just think, honestly, Crowell gives you a little more efficiency. He's a better rebounder. I think he gives you a little bit more in the periphery, but I'm not. That's not a shot on Klesmit either. I think this team has 6 to 7 good players, and they're all kind of bunched into here. But that's how my list broke down. Definitely post a comment. Let me know how your list broke down. We're going to take a quick break for the show, friends of the show, and then come back with some comments, including one from a Miami fan on Tyler Van Dyke, some great Gard comments that you guys had, a person who is getting sick of listening to me talk. We're going to put that up on here. So basically all your comments from the previous YouTube shows, we're going to get into it, get the community involved. I'm really excited for it. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Nissan Motors. And again, it's new friends of the show. Really excited for them. If you're the kind of driver that likes to maybe push things a little bit further, put some lead in your foot, right? You ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? I hope you do, because that's part of life, right? Like, what's around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. All right, let's start with the Nissan Pathfinder. The 2024 Pathfinder has room for up to 8. That's a basketball team and 3 guys on the bench, an expansive cargo capacity for all your Badger gear heading to the tailgate, advanced available 4x4 capable, so you can go out west, go tailgating in the desert, turn on the game with Starlink, and you're ready to fire it up and go, because the Pathfinder can get you there. 284 horsepower, 6,000 pounds of towing. You can tow the Badgers offensive line behind you. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. There's also the 2024 Armada, the full-size SUV from Nissan, rugged 4x4, seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. Right now, take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada. Go find your next big adventure at shopnissanusa.com. That's shopnissanusa.com. Let's keep going here. I wanted to do the rest of this, and as promised, kind of on a previous show, I have a bunch of comments from y'all. Let's chop them up. Let's get again, this is all about getting the community. I forgot to write down who wrote this one. I apologize. But he said, the bottom line is we know who Crowell is. That's on Gard for playing him heavy minutes and refusing to go small. The bigger problem is Klesmit and Hepburn not being able to score with any consistency. So a bunch in here I want to unpack. There's like 3 separate points in here I want to unpack. And I think this came from Liam, I want to say, this comment. The first one is, the bottom line is we know what Crowell is. I think you do, and I appreciate this comment. This is where I push back. I don't think most Badger fans do. I think most Badger fans are still frustrated because he's not something that we know he is. Or let me rephrase that. Because they're wanting him to be something that he's not. If you would just reframe the lens of Stephen Crowell and say he's a good positional big, I don't know if people are going to get as frustrated. And I'm not, that again, this is just my take on it, but if he was the big people wanted, he would have been in the NBA 2 years ago. If he was more aggressive in defending the rim with his size and offensive efficiency, he would have left for the draft 2 years ago. The reason he's still in college is because there are flaws in his game, right? And those flaws are never going away. And yet we continue to get frustrated about him. That's why I've said you need to go get another 5 to play with Crowell. But Crowell's still a good piece. Crowell, like, positionally, he can defend in the post. The numbers will tell you that. He can make passes. He can post up against certain players. Like, he still is a good piece on a college team, but you just got to go get him somebody else. Your second point here, that's on Gard for playing him heavy minutes. Gard has no one else to go to. So in so much of this year, I don't blame Gard, right? Because there's not a backup 5. In the big picture, I do blame Gard because that's on roster construction, right? Winter's not ready. For whatever reason, Gus isn't ready this year. Can't be Carter Gilmore. We've tried that. Marcus Silver, it's not him. I mean, so from a roster construction standpoint, Liam, you are correct. This is on Greg Gard, but I don't blame him as much for playing Crowell heavy minutes this year because I don't think there's many alternatives. You can go small at times, and we've talked about it, and he's actually done that more. Gard has gone small a couple times. Recently down the stretch, he's done it, and I thought at times it's been pretty promising, but you can't do that all the time. And there's nobody else that's playing the 5 anywhere remotely ready on this Badger team, so you got to play Crowell. The last one here, the bigger problem is Klesmit and Hepburn not being able to score with any consistency. It's an issue. That is an absolute issue. And I feel like that's a bigger part of this team, right? It's really hard to depend on anybody with consistency. Crowell, you don't know what version is going to show up. Hepburn, again, coming off a 1-for-7 game against Purdue. Klesmit has been a yo-yo all year, going from nuclear inferno over like that 4 or 5 game stretch to games where he doesn't score. Tyler Wahl has been the most consistent, but outside of that, you're not getting much consistency anywhere. And I think that is a problem. Bit of Blondie says Blackwell should have been moved into the starting lineup months ago. It was obvious that he's more athletic and more talented than some of the other starters. So I don't hate him coming off the bench. Bit of Blondie, as long as he gets 30 minutes, which that's 25 to 30 minutes. I think he got 29 last game, or if I'm remembering correctly, against Purdue, or maybe it was 29 against Illinois. Yeah, I don't need him starting as a freshman as long as he's getting consistent minutes. I'm okay with it. I think he's starting next year, right? I think Blackwell, because you got to imagine there's going to be another jump in the offseason for him. I think he's starting next year. I think he's good enough to start this year, but I'm okay with him coming off the bench because you can bring him in a couple different spots. It gives you some versatility. You can bring him in. If Hepburn has some issues, you can bring Blackwell in and have Klesmit cover the point a little bit. If Klesmit has issues, you can bring Blackwell in for the 2. You can bring Blackwell in at the 3 at times. So I don't hate him off the bench this year, but I do think next year you're going to see John Blackwell starting. I think you have to. Another one from Bit to Blondie. We need to hit the portal aggressively this offseason, bringing in tougher center, more athletic players. Yes. Yes, I agree. Yes. They need a more athletic front court. Now, whether you're getting that at the 4 or the 5, there's probably some flexibility there, right? Because Wahl is leaving. So Wahl leaves, and you have a massive hole at the 4. If you go and you get a bouncy 4, think like a Miles Swift. I mean, not that caliber player. He was an NBA lottery pick, but it's just like literally the first bouncy 4 that popped in my mind. But if you get like a 6'10" 4, 6'9" 4, 6'8" 4 who can really vertically get up and down, I don't know as much if you need an athletic 5. I think then you just maybe need a toughness upgrade at the 5. But you need an athletic guy in the front court at the 4 or the 5. And then I think if you could go find just kind of a burly physical center, it doesn't have to be a super skilled guy. It doesn't, because those are going to be impossible to find, right? You're not going to find a burly skilled center. That dude is going to go to Duke or Kentucky. But just find kind of a goon, for lack of a better term, but like a 6'10" physical guy who can come in and help you compete against the bigger, stronger front courts and give Crowell 10 minutes. Maybe you can find a Chris Vogt type. Find somebody. You need somebody in the front court to give Crowell a little bit of help here. And we've talked about that. Bruce Meyer says, how bad can we be on the pick and roll? Well, let me tell you, Bruce. I saw your comment, and I said, Ryan, let's go into the numbers. Let's take a look at just how bad we can be on the pick and roll. So per Synergy, which Synergy is incredible. It tracks basically every play, breaks it down by points per possession. So it tracks every pick and roll that the Badgers have defended and compares it to the rest of the country. Okay. Defending the pick and roll ball handler. So the guy that has the ball coming around the pick and roll. Think of the guy, think of Braden Smith, right? Think of those guys coming around the pick and roll, either trying to get to the rim or trying to shoot that mid-range jumper or trying to shoot a little floater. A lot of things they can do in that situation. We are in the 23rd percentile defending that guy. So basically pretty bad, right? We're in the bottom quarter of college basketball in defending that guy. Now, if you remember, there's a whole nother component to the pick and roll, right? There's the roll guy, the guy going to the rim. We are in the 1 percentile in guarding that per Synergy, meaning basically every other team in the country defends that roll man better than we do in pick and roll situations. So, Bruce Meyer, you asked how bad can we be? 23rd percentile defending the ball handler. I can't even say it, man. One percentile in defending the roll man in the pick and roll situation. I don't actually know in the aggregate what we are when you combine those two factors, but 15th percentile. I mean, it's really bad. We've been atrocious at that. That's on a lot of things, right? That's on the guards not getting around screens. So people are going to look at that roll man and immediately put that on Crowell. A lot of it is on Crowell. A lot of it's on guards not getting around screens too. And it puts Crowell in a spot where he's trying to guard 2 guys. The whole thing's broken. The guards aren't getting around screens. Steven Crowell is not protecting the rim. He's not getting his arms up. He's not contesting shots. It's been a disaster. It's been an absolute disaster for a veteran team. And the eyeballs would tell you that. Like, y'all know basketball. Like, we watch games all the time. Badger fans are smart. You watch it with your eyes, and you can see it's a disaster. I mean, it's the Titanic sinking, and there's no lifeboats. Like, everybody dies. Or the numbers back it up too, right? So you see with your eyes, the eye test tells you we are horrible at that. And then the analytics tell you, yeah, not only are we horrible, we're like one of the worst in the country. So that's how bad we are, Bruce Meyer. I don't know what the answer is. I have thought at times, like, and I know the coaching staff doesn't want to do this, Greg Gard doesn't want to do this, but just go under the screen, man. Like, stop. If you can't, for whatever reason, if we can't fight over the screen, we're getting stuck on it. Crowell isn't doing a very good job protecting the rim. Just try going under the screen for a couple of possessions and see if the opposing defense or the opposing offense will step back and try to hit a 3 or hit a jumper off of it, right? There's counters to everything. If you start going under the screen against a good shooter, he could just pop to the 3-point line and bang a 3-pointer. But I'm okay maybe seeing that once or twice just to see what happens. This is from GT Muller. He says odds Essegian transfer is 98%. I want to put this up there. Not that I have any insight on this, but the reason I wanted to put up there was I think this is why the ability for players to transfer is a good thing, because for whatever reason, it's just not working right now for Connor. And that doesn't mean I hope Connor's back. I still think Connor's a good player, right? Like, I would love to see him come back next year he doesn't start the season with a back injury, improves a little bit, gets back in the rotation. I would root for that story. I would love that story. But sometimes it doesn't work out for whatever reason, whether it's on the player not playing well enough, the coach not giving him enough slack. Truth be told, probably both of those things, right? The truth is usually somewhere in the middle. Everybody wants to yell at Gard or yell at Connor. The truth is it's somewhere in the middle. Connor hasn't played well enough, and I don't think Gard gave him enough of a chance to play into the rotation. I think both those things are true. But this is why the portal is a good thing, in my opinion, at times. It gives players a chance to find a fresh spot. And if he doesn't enter the portal, I'm going to root like hell for him because I think he's a good player. And if he doesn't, I'm going to root like hell for him. But I think my gut, this is based on no inside knowledge. Don't take it that way. But my gut is he does leave. I do think he probably leaves. And that can be win-win. That can be a win for him, getting to a spot where he has a bit of a reset. And it can be a win for the Badgers getting another scholarship. So, yeah, I do think he leaves. I think it could be win-win. And either way, I'm going to root for him. This is let's take one more quick break for the show, and we got a bunch more of your comments coming up, including a Miami fan chiming in on Tyler Van Dyke. That's always a fun one. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel remains the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Basketball, baseball. Your boy might have put some money line on the Suns tonight. I know I get a comment all the time like, Ryan, stop talking about the Suns. It's a Badgers podcast. I agree, but this is a FanDuel read, and we're talking about money. My Suns won me some money tonight. I made that bet over on FanDuel because you can bet on basketball, baseball, which is coming up pretty quickly here. College basketball with March Madness, NBA, it's all there, plus futures, parlays, spreads. It's all there. Moneyline bets, which I like to take because I'm kind of a pansy when it comes to trying to pick the spread. I like just kind of sit off on the safe island of the money line. As always, please do it responsibly. But FanDuel.com/lockedon. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel's the official betting partner of the NFL. Okay, let's keep going here. Again, bunch more comments. And again, I appreciate everybody so much for putting your comments up. I read every single one. I mean to get back to more of them, but y'all are amazing. This is the best community I've ever been a part of. And I want to get more of these shows up. I always try to get your comments up. So I really do appreciate it. This is from Kane13.5. He said, from a Miami fan, not hating on TVD, and I have absolutely nothing against Wisconsin. But good luck with TVD. The offense, it sure sounds like you're hating on TVD. The offense better be a one-read offense or else he will flutter. He's also not a leader of any kind and doesn't care about winning much. Hoping the best for him, though. First of all, for a guy who starts off with, I'm not hating on him, but he's not a leader. He doesn't win. The offense better be simple. Hoping that it sounds like you're hating on him. We'll see. I would, much like the Graham Mertz argument that I've made consistently, that the Badgers did not set Mertz up for success by rotating offensive coordinators every single year for him. Miami did not set TVD up for success either. You can't switch out offensive coordinators every year, change systems, and expect a college quarterback to not miss a beat. You can't do that with pro quarterbacks, except for the elite ones. So consistency matters. Ecosystem matters. Miami did not set him up for success. Maybe Wisconsin won't either, right? I'm not expecting Dan Marino, even though he has a bit of Marino's arm strength. I'm just expecting competent quarterback play. And I tend to think we'll get it. The Tanner Mordecai experiment notwithstanding, I'm not going to let that taint what I think Tyler Van Dyke can be in this offense. I think the receivers are a little bit better. I think Van Dyke probably fits the offense a little bit better. So I'm expecting a solid year is where I'm at. Okay, let's get some more of these comments here. Douglas Scott, I love this comment. Too bad they don't have a solid three-point shooter. No way a coach would consider using someone that set the program's freshman record last year, referring to Essegian. But I just talked about Essegian, so I really want to focus on the first part of this. This team's hidden weakness is they haven't had an elite three-point shooter since like Ben Brust, right? They haven't had a dude who scares the bejesus out of an opposing team. They haven't had a dude who creates gravity, right? Where anytime he's coming around a curl, he's coming off a pin down. There's two guys running to him. When I used there's a coach I was listening to once teaching closeouts, right? Which is when the defender closes out to the three-point line. And he said, we always teach our players there's a difference in the closeout technique you use, right? Great shooters get a Ray Allen closeout, which means you get under their chin and you don't care if they drive by you. Yeah, the Badgers haven't had a guy that's demanded Ray Allen closeouts in a long time. Maybe Blackwell becomes a version of that. He's shooting really, really well as a freshman. We were hopeful Connor Essegian would, but he's kind of fallen off the map. They need shooting, man. And that's partially why they went and got AJ Storts for the athleticism, but also for the shooting. That's why they got Jack Robeson coming in this next year's class. He's a big-time prep shooter. I think he's going to do well. We're hoping Nolan Winter could be kind of that pick and pop 5, but this team desperately needs shooting, and it's been too inconsistent this year. And I think that's a really good point from Douglas. Let's see. This one is from Will Arcinci. Blackwell's an emerging big-time star. I already talked about that, but yeah, man. I think he might be the best player on the team next year. Truthfully, I think Blackwell could be the best player on this team next year, on a team full of returning upperclassmen, with a team with Daniel Freitag coming in. I'm sure there'll be a portal addition. Blackwell might be alpha dude number 1 next year. He is that good potentially. I'm going to do a whole show deep diving into Blackwell, the free throw rate, his ability to create offense, the versatility on both sides of the court, but I wouldn't bet against it. I would not bet against it. This is from Rooster. He said, Ryan, I remember at the start of the season, someone said Blackwell is going to be the team MVP. Looks like he was right. Yeah, that was Cannonell. Let's give Cannonell his flowers, because I laughed at him. People in the comments laughed at him. I still don't think he is the team MVP, but he was much, much closer than I thought he would be. And Cannonell was all over it. So I got to get Cannonell back on the show. Scott McMonerney said, although his numbers didn't show it, Winter played exceptionally tough against Edie. I can't help but think we'll see significant improvement from him in the future. He battled. He did battle, but he was just so outclassed against Edie. And that's not a knock on him. There's a lot of skills there with Winter. And I can't wait to see. Winter could take out of everybody on this team this year, out of everybody, Winter could take the absolute biggest jump going into next year if he puts on 25 pounds of muscle, just gets in the gym this offseason, because offensively he has unique skill sets. I think he gives you more rim protection as a big. Maybe that's part of the answer to the equation next year to augment Stephen Crowell. It's Nolan Winter, right? So I still think Gus Yalden's in that equation too, for what it's worth. But yeah, like I thought he played hard. He just clearly isn't ready. And it's not just he's not ready against Edie. He hasn't been ready a lot of this year, which is that on him? No, it's really not. That's on roster construction, which ultimately loops back to Greg Gard. We talked about that 100%. Let's keep going here. A couple more comments I want to get into. This is from Don Betts. Ryan is getting to the point I can't listen to you anymore. Don, but we've been through so much. Connor can't get into any kind of rhythm offensively when he gets so little playing time, and Gard has put the kid under a microscope. It's getting sickening. Did you ever play high school or college basketball? Just wondering, Don Betts. So I never played college basketball. I did play high school. I played a ton of ball. I mean, I've also coached basketball. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Is it an excuse for Greg Gard to say Connor needs to make more of his minutes? I mean, is it an excuse for Greg Gard to say when Connor comes into the game and he plays 6 minutes and has 2 turnovers and 2 fouls, that's okay? I'm not trying to. I guess I just have a different perspective. I'm not trying to destroy your opinion on this, man. Like your perspective's fair, and that's where you're coming from. But you got to play better, man. You got to earn minutes. Like, coaches get paid to win games, and if Connor was playing better, he'd play more. I can promise you that. Do I think he's been given the biggest leash? No, and I've said that. I would have started him at the beginning of the year. I said that too. I've consistently said that. I still think that was a mistake. But the dude's got to play better. Like, that has to be acknowledged. And some of this is probably happening in practice, which none of us can see. But practice gets you playing time. Practice gets you a bigger leash as well. So do I feel like Connor's been given the biggest leash this year? No, he hasn't been. He hasn't been. But some of that is also earned or disearned, right? You earn a longer leash, or you also earn a shorter leash. And when you look at the starters, right, who do get run into the ground a little bit, every single one of them also gives you something else. What else does Connor give you right now? You know, Chucky gives you playmaking. Crowell gives you size and rebounding. Tyler Wahl gives you all sorts of stuff. Klesmit gets you some defense and some ball handling, some playmaking, right? AJ Storr gives you transition ability and athleticism. If Connor's not shooting well, what is the periphery thing he gives you? What is the auxiliary thing he brings to the court? Right. And that's the problem. If you're just a shooter, and I don't mean that like just a shooter can earn you millions of dollars. Like if you're just kind of a shooter and you're not shooting well, it's going to be hard to earn more minutes, especially down the stretch of Big Ten play where every game has been tough and kind of needed. So I don't know. Maybe it is me making excuses for Gard. Maybe you are completely right. Again, every opinion here is valid. Like we're not here to say one opinion is better than the other, but I would push back a little bit on the idea that this has just been all Gard's fault. And if Connor just had more minutes, he would play better. Connor didn't shoot well down the stretch last year with a ton of minutes. Connor is in a very extended shooting slump right now, going back to the end of the last 2 months of last year, right? I don't actually have the numbers right in front of me, but I do have Basketball Reference up. And through the magic of the internet, give me 1 second here as I will talk and kill time as I look something up. Let's look at Connor's year last year. Okay, and let's look at some splits for 2022, 2023. Let's go to the last couple months of the season. Okay, in March of last year, on 33 three-point attempts, Connor shot 24%. And in February of last year, on 62 three-point attempts, Connor shot 30%. I mean, so the last 2 months of the season for Connor, over the span of 15 games, he shot about 25%, 26% from three. He's been in an extended shooting slump going back to the last 2 months of last year. So he's got to play better. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Anyway, on Wisconsin, and Don, thank you for the comment, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for the comment. I didn't get to every single one. I didn't get to one for Will Hanna, which I'm going to get later. Brian Axness, Scott McBurney. Guys, I appreciate all of you so much for tuning in. John D., you guys are amazing. Thank you for making this an incredible community to be a part of, and we all are a part of it. On Wisconsin, and we'll talk more tomorrow.